The Israelis say, we don't need the U.S.'s support. We don't need your support. But if you look at what Israel's doing right now, it's just that. Israel just spent $56 million out of a $190 million budget to try and target Americans with propaganda campaigns to get them to support Israel. Who is this doing an interview with the prime minister of Netanyahu? And clearly this is some big PR spin campaign, because after this Axios article, he immediately comes out on this show. I have no idea who this Aaron Molin is, to come out and say, no, this is not happening. I don't know what they're talking about. You know, he's trying to be like, this is just the President Trump. He's so generous.
Just dropped, and I want to start the interview by asking for your reaction to it. It's on the Axios news site, and it says, Scoop, Israel seeks 20-year military aid deal with US with America first tweaks. Is that correct?
I don't know what they're talking about. My direction is the exact opposite. When I first became prime minister in 1996, I went to the U.S. Congress and we were...
Bro, what do you mean this has been... This guy's been the leader of Israel for like 700 years, and we're talking about this has been his effort since he first became prime minister. You've been raping the American taxpayer since before there was, we'll put it this way. You guys have been raping the American taxpayer before Netanyahu was even in office. It has continued on to this day, and it's much bigger than just $3 billion, $4 billion a year. If you look at the amount of loans that, the current bonds that the U.S. owns, how much in Israeli bonds the U.S. has bought at the behest of the Israel lobby, and these are junk bonds, according to Moody's. And Israel's never going to pay them off. And we're financing Israel's whole government. We're financing their government. We're financing their private industry. We're financing their healthcare. We're financing their military. What are we talking about? It's trillions and trillions of dollars that the U.S. has lost as a result of maintaining this special partnership with Israel. And Netanyahu has been at the helm for most of it.
Receiving financial aid and military aid. And I said, the first thing is, we're going to build a high-tech, free market capitalist economy. We don't need the financial aid. Phase it out. And everybody gasped. How
except that didn't happen.
Young
except you're lying.
Prime Minister, eager for a PR title. He's giving up billions of dollars. And I was happy to do it, and I was right to do it. So we got rid of that. Now I want to make our arms industry independent, totally as independent as possible. So my direction is the exact opposite. I don't know who's talking for Israel. I do. So follow what I say, not what is put forward in some leaks that are not true.
So, Prime Minister, you think it's time to cut military aid entirely from the US?
I think it's time to assure that Israel is independent. Understand that our...
I have no idea who Aaron Molin is, this Australian genocide denier. She probably got flown out to Abu Dhabi and was fucking some billionaire Emirati or something like that. She got flown out to Dubai or something like that. Probably sleeping with some Arab billionaire and Gulf billionaire. And then at some point he realized he didn't want to sleep with her anymore, so he set her up with a YouTube show. And then now she is, because she got too old, and now she's like doing the the Gulf countries' PR work of doing these interviews with Netanyahu. That would be my guess. I'm not sure, but that would be my guess.
Military aid is like a fraction, a tiny fraction of what the U.S. spent in Afghanistan or spent in the, in the Middle East. It's tiny. But, I think that we have a very strong economy. We have a very strong arms industry. And it's true that even though we get what we get, which we appreciate, 80% of that is spent in the United States. So it produces jobs in the United States. But nevertheless, I'd like to see a much more independent Israeli, and even more independent Israeli defense industry. And remember that Israel doesn't ask others to fight for us. Israel is the one American ally in the world that says, we need boots on the ground. We don't need American servicemen fighting.
How hilarious is that? This guy is, wow. We don't need American boots on the ground. What were those 20 years in Iraq? What were those 20 years in Afghanistan? What were U.S. troops doing in Syria, by the way? Occupying 1/3 of Syria. What were the U.S. airstrikes on Iran? What are we talking about here? We don't need U.S. troops on the ground.
You know, on the ground for Israel or around Israel, we're fine. We fight our own battles, but in doing so, we also serve important American interests, like preventing countries that chant death to America from having nuclear bombs to throw at America, and so on. So my direction is independence. My direction is not greater dependence. My direction is greater.
The crazy thing is, it's like we all know that because of the U.S. relationship with Israel, we have a higher likelihood of all these enemy states of the state of Israel who are more likely to attack us or our assets in the region, our military bases in the region, which Netanyahu says don't actually exist and they're not there. You know, if we had gone to Iran at some point throughout the duration of the Islamic Republic and said, hey, you know, we are going to play a more, I'm not even talking about cutting off a relationship with Israel. If the United States had gone to Iran and said, hey, look, we want to play a more even keel approach in the Middle East. We are going to diversify our partnerships and we want to do business with your state oil enterprises. They would be like, sounds interesting. Let's talk. Let's do it. Just like Venezuela. And guess what? Iran would have been far less likely to have any reason to hate America, hate the American government, hate American corporations. It's as simple as that. But of course, if we were to do that, any president who would think about that even would be called an anti-Semite and an enemy of Israel.
Independence, and I'll probably have something to say about that very soon.
What's a realistic timeline for that?
Oh, I think we're already we're already going there. In fact, this afternoon I'm having a very important meeting exactly on this subject.
The Aaron Molin Show. We do Emirati propaganda. Well, he says that the he's opposed to the U.S. taxpayer financing the Israeli economy, but as we discussed on our stream last night, the U.S. currently holds $2.4 billion propping up Israel's zombie economy. I mean, this is Israel bonds purchased by U.S. states. Florida alone, counties in the state of Florida, $1.05 billion in bonds, junk bonds that Israel's never going to repay. The Israelis say, we don't need the U.S.'s support. We don't need your support. But if you look at what Israel's doing right now, it's just that. Israel just spent $56 million out of a $190 million budget to try and target Americans with propaganda campaigns to get them to support Israel. They spent millions and millions of dollars doing this. Contracts between Israel and Trump-linked firms reveal campaigns and plans to target millions of U.S. churchgoers, deploy bots, hire influencers, and try to make ChatGPT more pro-Israel. It's insane. They are going so far as to geotagging evangelical churches. If you don't know what that means, it quite literally means that Israel can target the phones, the electronic devices, the laptops, the iPads, the TVs of anyone who is within a 2-mile span of a large evangelical church in wherever. Corpus Christi, Texas. They say Corpus Christi, Texas, impoverished oil refinery town, city, petrochemical city. Find us the largest evangelical church there. Within a 3-mile radius, or even smaller than that, within a 500-foot radius of that church, we are going to geofence that territory, and we are going to target any phones, any electronic devices in that territory of that church with Israeli propaganda, Israeli ads, Israeli YouTube ads, Twitter ads, things that pop up on their phones, emails that they might be sent. You get the idea. That's a technology that oftentimes private corporations use to market their, like if you go to the doctor's office and then you get an ad for some new dentures or something on your phone, that's like an ad, that's a marketing method that corporations use. But now we have governments who are geofencing regions of the United States to target us with their propaganda, target evangelicals with their propaganda. It's insane. Really, really insane. Of course, they've also tapped Brad Parscale, one of the main guys in Trump's PR team from 2016, 2020, 2024 to do a bunch of Israeli propaganda. They paid him millions of dollars. That's another part of this whole thing. According to the filing, Parscale's company will produce at least 100 core pieces of content per month, including videos, audio, podcasts, graphics, and text, and 5,000 derivative versions monthly, aiming for 50 million impressions a month. 80% of the content will target young Americans on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Campaign messages will be distributed via Salem Media Network, a conservative Christian media group that owns more than 200 radio stations and websites. Parscale was appointed this year to lead Salem strategy. So you've got the geotagging of evangelicals. You've got Trump influencers being bought off. You also have a very troubling development with AI engines. Let me see if I can find it in here. Project Esther. This is LLMs. There's somewhere in here about how they're literally influencing the information that ChatGPT and Sora are giving you. I don't know how they're even doing this, but somehow they're trying to target the information that these ChatGPT-esque platforms, these LLMs, source to give you more pro-Israel content if you are researching using AI platforms. It's somewhere in this article. I don't know what it is, but that is a portion of the $56 million that they're now utilizing in this media manipulation budget that they just approved through the Prime Minister's office and the Israeli Foreign Ministry of Affairs. So yeah, they don't care about American support. They don't need it. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.